Anyone else? All right.
Chair
Seeing none,
Stone?
I'll bring it back to the board.
Chair Stone, if there is a representative from PG&E here, and I'm wondering if we could invite her to come forward and respond to some of these comments.
That's her option if she'd like. If you'd like to.
No.
Let her speak.
Yeah.
Everyone was respectful when you spoke.
And first, let me apologize for putting you in this terrible situation. And I know you've got certainly a very difficult job these days. But some of these stories that we have heard are pretty outrageous. I mean, the idea that someone's had their electricity turned off when all they want is to not have the smart meter put on, and maybe they didn't, sign up correctly or whatever, but that just sort of seems unbelievable to me. So can you explain what's going on?
Unfortunately, good afternoon, members of the board. Unfortunately, by tampering with a PG&E meter by anyone who is not a PG&E trained professional creates a real urgent public safety issue that we're very concerned about. There is the potential issue of fire, of burns, or potentially even electrocution. So it's very important that this situation be taken care of, not only for the residents of that home, but for their neighbors as well. So in this situation, we reach out to the customer when this happens, and we explain to them the urgent nature of this situation, and we explain to them that we need to have access immediately to the property, to their property, so that we can take a look at the meter and replace it with a PG&E certified meter. In this case, it would be a smart meter, and that is the process that we're following now in this situation.
I guess that's where I have the problem. I mean, if you're willing to go back in, why wouldn't you offer to go back in and put the analog meter back on, which, their neighbor may well have because they, got on the right list. Why wouldn't you just put the analog back on? There's no danger of fire then, and there's no possibility that anyone in the house is getting hurt. And you don't have a family trying to live in a house without electricity.
Unfortunately, until we have there is not an opt-out until it's been passed by the CPUC, and until that time happens, we can't offer that option.
But there is a delay list.
There is a delay list.
So you could put those people on the delay list, put the analog meter back on, PG&E knows it's safe then, they've got electricity, they feel like they're safe, everybody walks away happy instead of this sort of not only a public relations disaster for PG&E, but a real hardship on these families. I mean, I can't imagine what this woman is going to do with living there with 2 children and no electricity. And her choices are put the smart meter on that she feels is endangering their health, or live there without electricity. I mean, I can't really believe that PG&E would put people in our community in that situation.
I understand your concern, Supervisor, and throughout this process we have tried to communicate with folks with our customers about the delay list, to make sure that we made phone calls to them, sent letters, and additionally ran open articles or open letters in newspapers. Some folks have said that they haven't received that. In this situation, because there is no opt-out, that's not something that we can do.
Well, you and I know that's simply not true. If PG&E can go back in and put a smart meter on, they can say to that person, get on the delay list, we'll put your analog meter on, and we're done until there's, until PG&E rules with whatever's going on. So
PG&E has not replaced any analog.
Until PUC makes that decision. So PG&E is basically saying, we won't accept a license electricians work on this, and we won't go back in and do it ourselves. I mean, it's hard for me to believe that PG&E, given all the public relations nightmares it's been involved in lately, is really going to add more.
We believe that this is a very significant public safety issue.
But you have now worked to have someone come out. At this woman Bianca's home, someone has come out to her home and has done something to the meter. I'm not exactly sure what they've done, But are you telling us that that household will be without electricity until the CPUC completes their opt-out progress?
That's correct, or if there's a smart meter that is replaced.
And if the CPUC takes 6 months to complete their opt-out process, are you saying that PG&E is going to let that household go without power for 6 months?
It's my understanding that we will not, there needs to be a smart meter for us to reconnect the power.
You could put on a smart meter and not turn on the transmitter.
I don't believe that's an option. In this, my understanding is it will be a fully functioning smart meter that will be replaced.
You know why people don't like your company? And because the inflexibility to be able to deal with issues. And we here on the Board of Supervisors, we try to do lots of things. And as an elected official, I try to go out and meet with the public, and I have newsletters, and I get in the paper about things to let the community know. And a vast majority of them have no idea what I do or what we up here do. So that's commonplace. We understand that that's part of our business. And when we run into people who have made decisions not knowing about ours, we don't, and we've made a lot of changes over the years to not just throw them into jail or issue them a reg debt. We try to work with them to help them understand what the rules are that the county has passed through a democratic process. So as a public utility, you are up here and saying this woman has unknowingly, she did not know about these various ways, and we ourselves try to publicize it, but there's many people who don't read the newspaper. With the advent of satellite radio, there are many people who don't listen to a local radio station, and if you could have direct TV, you don't even have to listen to a local TV station. So there's lots of opportunities for you not to know about these things. And there has to be some compassion on the part of the public utility for people who didn't know, and that now you're condemning them to be in darkness at the very least, or without heat in the worst, for an unspecified period of time. Now that you know, as a role, as part of your role as a public utility, it seems like that's fairly heartless.
I understand that, Supervisor Leopold, but from the point of view of this being a substantial public safety issue, we're very concerned about removal of PG&E meters by non-PG&E authorized individuals. I personally had a situation where I had some electrician did some work at my home, and I just asked him out of the blue if he'd ever replace a meter, and he told me he wouldn't. He said he wouldn't touch that. That's something that needed to be done.
I understand that, but
yeah.
But there are technicians that visited this house, and they could have examined what the work's done, ensured its safety, and allowed electricity, basic function in any household, to continue. And you know, you cannot stand up here and say we have to condemn this person to no electricity until a body that has moved incredibly slowly up in San Francisco will make a ruling one day, and then that person gets their power back.
Well, I think we're hopeful that the proposed decision has been rendered, and we're hopeful that at least by the beginning of January is the indications we're hearing that this will be discussed by the CPUC.
You're saying you would let 4 weeks go of this household and maybe others without power for 4 weeks in order to make your point?
Unfortunately, we believe this is a significant public safety issue.
What would it take for PG&E to feel as though the power to that household is safe?
We need to replace it with a PG&E approved meter, a PG&E approved